Welcome to another Chandler in Focus. My name's Terry Rowe. I'm a council member here in Chandler. And today on our program, we're going to discuss teen dating violence and programs promoting healthy relationships. So my guest today is Bobby Sudbury. She is the executive director of Katie's Way. And welcome.
Thank you.
And so Bobby, let's get started here. The month of October is dedicated to domestic violence awareness, and that's one of the main reasons that we're really doing this program today.
Mm-hmm.
And February, we address teen dating violence awareness, but clearly both of those subjects are intertwined and related to each other.
Exactly.
So we're going to talk about both.
Absolutely.
And so let's start by having you introduce yourself and talk about what led you to start Katie's Way and promote healthy teen relationships.
Well, I'm the mother of 5 children. I've been married to my husband it'll be 25 years. And basically, we decided to create Katie's Way from a tragedy that our family dealt with, where one of our daughters at the age of 17, unfortunately, was the victim of teen dating violence in the worst imaginable way. What I mean by that is her ex-boyfriend murdered her and then committed suicide, and they were both 17 years old.
Wow, that is a very serious thing for any family to go through. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the loss of a child is just, it does not seem right. It doesn't seem like it's natural or anything like that. You always feel like you as the parent will always go before your child. So it's not anything that's real easy to come to terms with.
Yeah. So after some of the hurt went away, you and your husband decided to start Katie's Way.
Yes, we did. Primarily because there's so many complexities and facets to this issue. And one of the things that I had read and learned about early on in this was that 81% of adults didn't even realize teen dating violence was an issue. And I mean, quite honestly, we didn't know that it even had a name. We just, what we felt was our daughter was just being horrifically harassed and treated inappropriately, and we were trying to deal with the situation as that was, not realizing that teen dating violence, was an issue, but we knew we had an issue, if that makes any sense.
Right. And navigating that and trying to still show love for your daughter and try and deal with very complex, like you say.
Yes,
so.
it was very complex. Navigating it was very difficult. We didn't know where to go for help, and when we did go for help, we weren't able to get the help that we needed. We didn't know about other resources that were out there. We tried to do the best we could, using our common sense and what should be going on, but it was definitely didn't work out the way we had wanted it to.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We have a short video highlighting your family story. So we're just going to take a second and view that now.
The first word that comes to my mind is a nut. She didn't like nuts, but she was a nut.
Bobby Sudbury is talking about her daughter, Katie.
She was just one of those kids that she was happy-go-lucky. She had a great relationship with all of her siblings, as me, my husband.
Katie was living life to the fullest.
She had a very creative personality, and she liked everything from sports to photography to art.
A bright future filled with endless opportunities for this 17-year-old. Katie was months away from graduation at Moon Valley High School in Phoenix.
There are certain things that we don't do, because we've got a family member missing.
Katie's life was cut short. She was gunned down by her ex-boyfriend as she walked home from school in January of 2008. He then turned the gun on himself.
I think desperation just turned to, what he ended up doing on January 28th, which, it changed our lives forever.
A young teenage relationship that started off normal and then took a dark turn.
The first few months that they were together, I mean, he treated her like a princess. And then this behavior starts happening, and she thought she could help him, and so she does go back to him, but his behavior continues to be inappropriate, mean.
Katie finally broke off the year-long relationship in December of 2007, but things only got worse. Bobby says the ex-boyfriend assaulted her daughter on 3 separate occasions.
It wasn't until he threatened to kill her that we were urged to go get an order of protection.
Bobby was only able to file an injunction against harassment because under Arizona state law at the time, Katie's situation didn't meet the criteria needed to get an order of protection.
You never truly believe that somebody is going to hurt your child. I remember that a sunflower she had planted bloomed. Oh, shoot. The day after she passed away. You know, so those little things I remember, but for 3 weeks, we did crawl into a hole.
It wasn't until she was asked to share Katie's story a few months later that Bobby knew she needed to help other young people in abusive relationships.
I believe that she's with me every time I present.
Bobby and her family started a nonprofit called Katie's Way. She has talked to thousands and thousands of young people and adults about teen dating violence, the warning signs, and that help is not too far away.
If you are in an abusive relationship, find a trusted adult and talk to them.
Because all it takes is one person's story to make a difference in a victim's life.
If we help one person each time we speak, and I don't care if it's a crowd of 3 or 1 for that matter, you know, or 750. If we help just one person, we've accomplished our mission.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about Katie's Law? And I guess that was named after your daughter.
Yes, it was. It was a law that the Arizona Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence had been trying to get passed for 5 years prior to when it was passed finally, and it kept failing at the Senate committee. They couldn't get it past the Senate committee, and then unfortunately, due to our loss, my daughter and everything, they had asked me if I would testify on behalf of the law. And after explaining it to me and everything, I was all on board. And so Senator Jonathan Payton, along with the coalition, we worked together, and I did testify to get the bill passed. And that's when it got some traction. It actually went through the Senate committee, and then it went to the floor. And from there on out, it went all the way through. So we were really excited about that. And it was signed by Governor Brewer on September 30th, 2009.
That's a win. That's a big win, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And
It's-
a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely
get
too
there.
late for Katie, but not too late for anybody else out there in a dating relationship that is abusive. And that's what it's there for. It's there for people that are in dating relationships. If they are being abused, they now have protection under the law so long as that relationship is romantic or sexual in nature. Now, not all dating relationships are sexual in nature, nor should they be, okay? But dating by definition is romantic.
Yeah, well, that's true. Or it's supposed to be anyway.
Yep,
that's for sure.
exactly.
So I'm retired law enforcement. We talked about that just a little bit earlier. And but for our viewers, could you share some statistics about domestic violence that people might not know?
Okay, well, from the American Psychological Association, they did a study back in 2013 where they found that 41% of adolescent girls and 37% of adolescent boys report being victims in an abusive relationship. And to me, those are literally hair-raising epidemic numbers. And that to me is a societal epidemic. It also says that it's not just a guy-on-girl thing. Girls can be abusive towards guys, girls towards girls, and guys towards guys. This issue of dating or domestic violence is a very unbiased issue. It doesn't know any religion. It doesn't know any culture, gender, anything like that. It happens anywhere and everywhere. And I've seen it. I've been all over the country and involved in all kinds of different cultural things. And yeah, you see it everywhere.
So that is a pretty big statistic there. That's amazing. I always said if you could just somehow get alcohol and drugs out of our society, that would make a very big change in violence. But let's talk a little bit about ways you would help promote healthy relationships?
Well, the way we help promote healthy relationships is we provide presentations for schools. Okay, we can do it as an assembly. We can take over a class for a day. I've done that for health classes and PE classes in different high schools, and we go into the colleges as well. We also work with PTA and PTO organizations where we're trying to help develop trusted adults for kids to go to so that they feel comfortable disclosing and talking about the situation. We're trying to get people to understand victims are not to blame for being in these relationships. And instead of blaming victims, why are we not helping abusers to choose not to abuse? Because what it comes down to is it's definitely a choice. How we behave, what we do and say. You know, you mentioned drugs and alcohol. And oftentimes what I'll do is I'll tell people, I'm like, okay, yes, some people do get very violent when they've been drinking. Okay, well, if they know they're violent when they're drinking, they need to choose not to drink, you know, that type of thing. So making better choices, you know, helping them understand what are their rights and responsibilities in a relationship. You know, safety planning is very important.
Both parties, really. I mean,
exactly, both parties. You know, we want to help victims understand what, you know, their expectations are in a relationship, but we also want abusers to understand what are the elements of a healthy relationship? How can they go forward and choose not to abuse? You know, the thing about it is if somebody's been abusive, they need to, you know, accept responsibility for it, acknowledge it, okay? But by the same token, not wallow in it, because you can't change anything that's happened in the past. You cannot go back there and change anything, but what you can do is go forward and make better decisions, choose not to abuse, be very cognizant of how you are working with others and treating others, especially the people you love, because the one thing that, you know, I can't do any longer is I can't hug my daughter. Once somebody that we love is gone,
right.
you know, we can't bring them back. And that's what's so devastating. So we really need to honor and love the people that are in our lives and treat them, you know, well and with respect and everything. So, you know, we can enjoy them.
Awareness, education, take action, all these things, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So warning signs. Let's talk a little bit about signs that parents or teens, you know, should be aware of in a relationship. What are some trigger things or some?
Well,
some
yeah,
signs?
and we go over warning signs in our presentations, and the warning signs we go over are usually what happen prior to any emotional investment, you know, which is important, and some of them fly under the radar simply because they're very flattering, and the main one that I always talk about is the one where the partner wants to be with them 24/7 all the time. And if they can't be there with them physically, they're trying to be there with them through technology and whatnot. So what we're trying to get them to understand is if that person is having an issue with you spending time with anybody else, okay, or having other friends and whatnot, okay, this is definitely an issue and something that needs to be addressed early on. And it'll happen early on. You know, you'll feel that them always wanting to be with you in one way or another. And so what we do is we try to get them to understand how they can test that out. How can they realize that that's what that person is doing? You know, trying to dominate their time, exercise power and control. And then that opens the door for them to have the conversation with them about, you know, look, I have family members and friends that I love and I want to spend time with them. And sometimes it's going to be a one-on-one thing. I need to know you're okay with that, you know, and if they're not okay with it, and if they have a problem with it, well, then they can decide at that point, do they want to continue that relationship or continue with it, you know, and like I said, it's usually early on that happens. And the thing is sometimes it's so flattering, they think that person really loves them, not realizing that they're trying to exercise power and control over them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, like you said, complex. So you did mention a few tips, but if there are others and some resources that, I mean, we're here today because we want people to be aware, and we want Chandler, the people in Chandler, wherever this is seen, to be able to maybe get some good resources or know some things that they can do for the person that they really care about.
Well, for teen dating violence, the best resource I know in Arizona is Katie's Way website, katiesway.org. That's KAITYSWAY.org. We have an adult page where what can adults do to help a teen in an abusive relationship? How can they help them? Okay. Then we also have a teen page. So they can look at it from a teen's perspective and really understand it. You know, teens, oftentimes they want to help each other out. So we just want them to go to the website, understand where they can get help, how they can get help, who to turn to. And then for adults, the same thing. We have all kinds of links to the Attorney General's office, the Maricopa Association of Governments, the Arizona Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence. They are a wonderful resource. There's also a teen dating violence hotline. There's a domestic violence hotline, and also local PD. Police officers, the victim assistance programs, family advocates, they want to help. They don't want to see people being abused, and they want to help. So reach out to them. They're there to help. They understand that, and we educate a lot of people in those fields about teen dating violence.
Yeah, I remember my days in patrol, and you just definitely didn't want to keep going back to the same residence over and over again, so. If people get the help, and some of these resources, are listed on your website? So if they get on your website, are they able to
Yes, they are.
navigate there and maybe even call somebody?
Yep, absolutely. It's down at the bottom of each of those pages, the adult and the teen page, so they can go to wherever they, might need some help, check out those websites, get the information for safety planning and, who they can call and talk to and kind of go from there.
So you have a big job. I mean, this is when you're really trying to get out there and really make people aware and share. Talk to me a little bit about what your resources are. Do you have volunteers? Can people donate to Katie's Way? Can you get volunteers? What?
Absolutely. On our website, there is a donate button. So yes, funding is very important and crucial, because we do go all over the state to provide this information. And we are just about to hit the 80,000 mark with the number of people that we've actually presented to and worked with on this over the years. Volunteering, we have a volunteer page on our website, and you can complete an application. We need volunteers all the time to help us spread the word even further and get out there more. Actually, all the help we can get, we will take, and we greatly appreciate it.
So it's Bobby Sudbury, Executive Director of Katie's Way, and that website again is
katiesway.org. It's KAITYSWAY.org.
Yeah, and so if you know somebody that needs help, or if you need help, or if you're just looking for some answers, go to that website. And you can get some answers, get some help.
Well, in the East Valley, we also hold a monthly workshop every month, the third Saturday of every month from noon to 2 p.m. at the Mesa YMCA on Mesa Drive. We hold our workshops, and it's a 2-hour workshop, and we really drill down on the complexities of teen dating violence, bring awareness to it. We talk about safety planning, what people can do to help, family and friends and bystanders, and what somebody can do to help themselves. And then we also talk about Katie's Law more in depth, and we do go over the peace, rights, and responsibilities to help people understand how they can obtain and maintain healthy relationships.
Yeah. Workshops. I mean,
Yep.
So a loving mom or a sister that cares,
Yep.
or an aunt, just somebody that go over there and bring somebody and get some answers. And,
Yep, that's exactly. We can serve as many as 20 at any given time. And so if they just call and let me know that they want to, attend the workshop, it's free. So basically, they just let me know they want to attend the workshop. I'll put them on the list, and we'll be good to go.
Good deal. Good deal. I love it. Very serious matter today, and we're lucky to have people like you that are working. Is there anything else that you'd like to share for Chandler today?
Well, the biggest thing I just want people to understand is Victims are not to blame for being in abusive relationships. You know, it takes them several times to leave that relationship, and that's because of all the complexities and the dynamics of it. The abuser beats them down mentally, you know, and so when you're beaten down that far and that hard, it's hard to have the confidence to make that move and go. It's a very fearful thing to leave an abuser, and so it takes a lot of courage. So we have to be patient with the victims and work with them and let them know we are there to support them always. And even if they do go back to the abuser, I know that can be disappointing for people, but please understand, it's got to be when the victim feels it's right, because it could end up being a very, very bad situation. And the one thing that victims know that we all don't is the abuser. When they're around, when they're not around, when they need to make their move. So we have to be patient and not blame them for staying in that relationship, because they're trying to keep the peace. They're trying to exit that as safely as possible. And oftentimes they have pets and children involved. So that's why it's really important that we start realizing that victims are not to blame. We don't do any more victim blaming, and we start looking to, you know, and educating the abuser so they can choose not to abuse, or holding them accountable.
Well, you have a big job ahead of you, and you've already done a lot, and I hope people will reach out and volunteer and help and get help for themselves or for the people that they care about. Thank you so much for your work and dedication, and thank you for watching. I'm Councilmember Terry Rowe, and thank you for watching another Chandler in Focus. See you next time.